Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. Fast-paced developments have been taking place for the last few hours in the wake of India's strike against terror in the heart of Terroristan. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next nearly 1 hour. India launches Operation Sindoor, strikes 9 terror targets in late-night action across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Terrorist hideouts of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen destroyed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi constantly monitored Operation Sindoor throughout the night. The Indian Army is to brief on the strike against terror at 10 a.m. IST, 4:30 p.m. GMT. Cabinet Committee on Security to meet as well. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval briefs US counterpart and Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the Operation Sindoor. Air travel across northern India impacted as tensions soar. Airports Authority of India shuts down many North Indian runways, including Srinagar and Amritsar. And Pakistan violates ceasefire hours after India strikes terror camps in PoK and Punjab under Operation Sindoor. The Indian Army responds appropriately. Well, the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, from where terrorist attacks against India have been planned and directed. In a press statement by the Armed Forces, it's been said that altogether 9 sites have been targeted. The Ministry of Defence press release said, and I quote, "Our actions have been focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. These steps come in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam terrorist attack in which 25 Indians and 1 Nepali citizen were killed. We are living up to the commitment that those responsible for this attack will be held accountable." Now, places where terrorist hideouts have been attacked are Bahawalpur, Muridke, Tehra Kala, Sialkot, Barnala, 2 places in Kotli, another 2 places in Muzaffarabad. Terrorist hideouts of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen have been hit. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has strongly responded following India's strikes, part of Operation Sindoor or Operation Vermilion, on 9 sites across Pakistan. On social media X, the Defence Minister expressed national pride with the slogan "Bharat Mata Ki Jai" or "Hail Mother India." And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said, and I quote again, "The world must show zero tolerance for terrorism." And Prime Minister Narendra Modi closely monitored Operation Sindoor throughout the night as the Indian Armed Forces executed precision strikes on 9 terrorist camps across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The PM will be chairing the Cabinet Committee on Security later in the day. Meanwhile, the Indian Army will be holding a press briefing on Operation Sindoor at 10 a.m. IST or 4:30 GMT in New Delhi. Further details regarding the operation are expected to be shared during this briefing. Let me now go across to my colleague Akshay Dongre for more on this, joining us from the newsroom. Good morning, Akshay. This has been quite a day already, starting from late in the night, just before 2 a.m. That's when the first information came through. What all do we know so far about Operation Sindoor and its fallout?
Well, absolutely, Gautam. Exactly at 1:44 a.m., information was shared with the country and the entire world that the Indian Armed Forces, in close coordination, have carried out strikes at 9 locations inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well. The most significant part of this strike that has been conducted through missiles, through other kind of arms and ammunition, that still remains confidential, and the details will be shared today at 10 a.m. by the Indian Armed Forces. However, the attack has been precision based, the attack has been very limited, and the attack has been to only destroy the terror camps that are operating from Pakistan, and no civilian or military infrastructure was at target by any of the wings of the Indian Armed Forces. The situation came to this after Pahalgam attack. For the last 12 days, Pakistan has been violating the ceasefire, attacking the Indian Armed Forces with small arms. But yesterday, when India retaliated at these 9 locations, that include 3 to 4 locations that are outside of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as well. That includes Sialkot, other areas of Bhavalpur, and the areas that have been identified after gathering a lot of intel, after a lot of information about terrorist hideouts, as well as their infrastructure from where they are operating. That is something that is called terror launch pads that are located all across Pakistan. So after these strikes were conducted, the reports that are coming in are stating that all the operational aircraft that had taken part in the operation are accounted for. They have returned safely, and soon after the attacks were carried out and executed by the Indian Armed Forces, Pakistan resorted to artillery shelling along the line of control as well as at the international border. So throughout from Jammu and Kashmir to Rajasthan, incidents of cross-border firing and shelling are being reported, and in fact in Jammu and Kashmir, three civilian casualties have unfortunately been reported because of the shelling, indiscriminate shelling that has been done by Pakistani armed forces. However, the Indian Army and other armed forces are retaliating. All of the Indian Air Force remains on high alert. Several of the airports have ceased operation for now. So the situation remains very critical. It's very sensitive. But at this point in time, the official information that we are sharing here on DD India is that Operation Sindoor, that was to destroy the terror launch pads inside Pakistan and PoK, have been destroyed in the night. And as of now, the Indian Army is retaliating to the artillery shelling that's being conducted by the Pakistani army. While there are tall claims being made, another weapon for the Pakistan armed forces right now is propaganda and false news. So several kind of propaganda messages, videos are being shared inside Pakistan, and that is understandable, Gautam, because the kind of attack that has been carried out by India is in fact a slap in the face for Pakistan. Despite the tall claims that Pakistan have JF-17 or F-16s or the kind of made in China air defense system that they have deployed, and despite being on vigil because India had announced aerial exercises along the borders with Pakistan, despite all of that, Pakistan was caught sleeping. All of these targets were destroyed, and Pakistan could not retaliate. Hence, to pacify the public and to avoid any kind of uprising taking place in Pakistan, the armed forces as well as the government and Pakistani media, especially the official ones like ISPR, are resorting to fake news propaganda to the tune that the defense minister had said that about 10 to 20 Indian soldiers have been captured as prisoners of wars. However, later he retracted that his own statement. So you can imagine, if the defense minister is making spreading false news and then retracting statements, then the kind of information that is being spread inside Pakistan is also we can understand the degree to which it is.
Yes, it's been a nation long with a forked tongue. And nothing can be taken at face value where Pakistan is concerned. One can perhaps say that about another neighbor of ours, but we'll go there a little later. Let me bring in Alok Bansal, Director, India Foundation, on that. Alok Bansal, your first comments on what has happened, the kind of targets that India chose to execute this strike, and the manner that it has been carried out, and whatever has flowed thereafter.
See, firstly, by targeting 9 targets, we have clearly shown that Indian armed forces have retaliated and have destroyed the terror infrastructure to a very great extent. And very importantly, 4 of these targets are in Punjab, which is the heartland of Pakistan. In fact, 3 of them from the area from where bulk of Pakistan's troops are recruited. And also, the headquarters of both Jaish-e-Mohammed as well as Lashkar-e-Toiba have been targeted.
It's the home ground of Pakistan's Prime Minister as well, perhaps the army chief too, isn't it?
Also, it has actually, my input from Bahawalpur says that there were huge explosions actually. I really am not sure what is the situation of Masood Azhar and Hafiz Saeed, whether they have also been eliminated or they have managed to survive. I think the clarity would come with a little time. The problem is Pakistan's army has now resorted to propaganda, because Pakistan's army knows that if they retaliate, there's like bound to be escalation, and Pakistan is neither in an economic condition nor in a military condition to take the conflict further. But at the same time, they have to show something to their domestic audience, which is as it is restive. And there is a huge discontentment, especially in the western provinces of both Baluchistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So Pakistan has to show, and that's why we are seeing some propaganda where they are claiming 5 Indian planes have been brought out. They are claiming 1 brigade headquarter has been destroyed. One doesn't know, but the fact is that they have increased the artillery shelling across line of control, which has resulted in 3 civilian deaths. Of course, Indian armed forces are giving a befitting reply. And if this sort of a duel continues, I think Pakistan will soon run out of artillery shells, because Pakistan has supplied a large chunk of artillery ammunition to Ukraine in recent past, and I think they have very limited artillery shells left with them. So Pakistan is in a precarious condition, and I think their political establishment is suing for peace. They are asking international community to mediate. They hope that some sort of mediation takes place, but we'll have to see how does the Pakistan army chief reacts, who is extremely communal and you can say a jihadi journal. So let's wait and watch how it happens.
His province has been hit comprehensively, although Rawalpindi has been spared. Could be a future target if Pakistan dares to do something more, but we'll have to wait and see. Just stay with us, Alok Bansal, because my colleague Amritpal Singh is also joining me now from Chandigarh, very close to the home of our Western Commander. Amrit, what's happening there in terms of how well is India prepared for any kind of action that Pakistan might take in retaliation, although Pakistan is claiming that it is already retaliated without any proof?
Here in Punjab and Haryana, all air bases of the Indian Air Force have been put on high alert. Flights have been cancelled in the northern and the western sector. In case Pakistan reacts, the army on the Punjab border is already on high alert. As you said, Chandigarh is the Western Command headquarters of the Indian Army. Ambala is the strike corps of India, of the Indian Army. So the air bases of the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army deployment, all our corps, the Bathinda Corps, the Jalandhar Corps, everybody is on a high alert. Punjab being a border state, so the Indian Army, in case Pakistan breaches ceasefire, which it is breached in Jammu and Kashmir, if it does that along the international border in Punjab or shows any kind of adventurism either in Punjab or in Rajasthan, the army is well prepared to tackle that. To come back to one little thing which you said, that Rawalpindi hasn't been hit. Rawalpindi wasn't supposed to be hit. It's a brilliant military strategy by the Indian Armed Forces, where only terrorist infrastructure has been hit in Pakistan. In Pakistan occupied Kashmir and in Punjab, in Bahawalpur.
We seem to be having trouble with Amritpal's link there. We'll try and fix that. I do like to set the cat among the pigeons, which is why I mentioned Rawalpindi, the home city of Pakistan's army chief, although it's a military target. Let me go across to Alok Bansal once again. Alok Bansal, what do you think will happen now? We, of course, will hear from the Indian Armed Forces at 10 a.m. There's a Cabinet Committee on Security meeting that's also set for later in the day. But in terms of the situation right now, is it a completely wait and watch situation? We have to watch and see what Pakistan might be up to?
I have no doubts that we must be preparing our next round of action, and it may not be prudent to discuss it on the television studios, but I guess we are prepared for any retaliation from Pakistan and then the next round of actions. However, if Pakistan probably doesn't do anything, probably we may not want to escalate the situation.
You were making the point that Pakistan perhaps cannot afford to do it. There's a lot at stake for Pakistan. The next tranche of money coming in from the IMF is also seemingly at stake.
See, there is no doubt. In fact, Finance Minister was in Europe and she has tried to tell both ADB and the European countries to cut down aid to Pakistan. In fact, FATF we have actually taken up an issue with, and Pakistan is in a precarious condition, and if the Gulf states also start twisting Pakistan's arm, there is no way that Pakistan would be able to take this conflict further. But having said that, please understand Pakistan's army has to maintain their preeminence in Pakistan's body politic, and to that extent some sort of a retaliation or at least a narrative where they show that they have retaliated is a must for them, because they have to sell to the domestic audience that they have done something. They cannot tell the domestic audience that they have been sitting and twiddling their thumbs. So that narrative has to be peddled by them, and I think already their defense minister is saying that they have brought down 5 aircraft, they have destroyed a brigade headquarter and whatnot. So you know what sort of lies they can peddle. Of course, the only retaliation at the moment on ground is that there has been artillery shelling which has been increased. There are also some unconfirmed reports about some aircraft having come down. Whose aircraft, what aircraft, and the clarity is still not there. There are some inputs that near Pampore, I think some aircraft has come down. I don't know. The initial report said F-16. I'm not too sure if Pakistan retaliated and that's been brought down or whatever is the situation. We will have clarity as time passes by. But the fact is that the country needs to remain vigilant. All citizens need to remain vigilant and be prepared for some sort of a retaliatory action from Pakistan. I'm sure armed forces are more than ready, and they are willing to retaliate in case Pakistan ups the ante both on land, sea and air.
Yes, Amrit, if I could come to you again in terms of how this is playing out, do you feel that of course, our armed forces are vigilant for any retaliatory action by the armed forces, the official armed forces of Pakistan, but what about non-state actors?
Well, the non-state actors right now would be saving themselves. You know, we don't know, as Captain Bansal was saying, we don't know whether Hafiz Saeed or Maulana Masood Azhar have been hit. But, you know, their headquarters have been hit. In Muri's case, their madrasas have been hit, which were basically terror factories where training used to take place, funding used to be organized, and they used to run their network from there. So in that sense, you know, Pakistan would have moved their strategic assets out because these non-state actors are a part of their state policy. So they would have sort of moved them out, one would assume so, but the message is very loud and clear to both the state actors and the non-state actors of Pakistan that if you hit India, if you inflict pain on India, India will respond back. And I think it's a great military strategy. India hasn't hit any military installation of Pakistan. What they've hit is the terror hideout in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and also in Punjab. Now, if Pakistan retaliates and hits, it's doing RT firing, it is doing ceasefire violations. Some civilians on our side have been killed. 3 civilians along the border in Jammu and Kashmir have been killed in Pakistan's, shelling and firing. Now, if Pakistan hits any Indian military targets, it will be an act of war which they began. We haven't hit their targets. We've been India has been consistently telling them that put a lid on the terror infrastructure run from your soil.
And when
They
that
have
happened,
either refused
Amrit,
to or have been
Amrit,
incapable
Amrit,
and
when
have
that,
been in
Amrit,
constant
just
denial.
remind our viewers, when that happened the last time, when Pakistan did indeed hit back at our military targets, what happened then?
In the 2016 strikes, they denied. In the 2019 strikes, they were able to down aircraft. You know how Abhinandan went, but then India they had to give back Abhinandan back to India. Now clearly
We can also go back to 1971.
Oh yes, if you want to go that long back, they can go back to 1961.
Of course, why not? Why not? Why not?
Yes, yes. So 71, 65, they did operations. So India responded back in those operations. So if they, I don't think, now the situation has changed. One, you are both nuclear powers. The world wouldn't let you go out into an all-out war. That's why you've seen Mark Rubio dial both the NSAs of India and Pakistan to urge them to de-escalate. So I'm sure the Indian Foreign Minister and the Indian officials have spoken to the world powers, UK, US, Russia, Saudi Arabia. So clearly, diplomacy is also both from the Indian side, and I'm sure from the Pakistani side, they are also reaching out to the world. Because the world
we'll talk about that extensively as well. Amrit, just hold your horses for a second, because I just wanted to bring that up for our viewers as well. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has spoken with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio shortly after India carried out the Operation Sindoor. And these strikes that had been carried out against Pakistan, terror targets in Pakistan, the Indian Embassy in Washington DC in a statement said that shortly after the strikes, NSA Doval spoke with US NSA and Secretary of State Marco Rubio and briefed him on the actions taken. The press release further said that India's actions have been focused and precise. They were measured, responsible and designed to be non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani civilian, economic or military targets have been hit. Only known terror camps were targeted. Also taking to Twitter, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that he is monitoring the situation between India and Pakistan closely. And Israel's backed India's Operation Sindoor. Ambassador of Israel, Reuven Azar, in a social media post has said, and I quote, Israel supports India's right to self-defense. Terrorists should know there's no place to hide from their heinous crimes against the innocent. All right, I'm being told that I need to let you go for the time being. Thank you for joining us, Amrit, as well as Amrit from Chandigarh, of course, and Alok Bansal, thank you so much for joining us for the time being as well. Look forward to speaking to you again on this subject matter. It's going to be a long day ahead. Now, meanwhile, US Congressman Sri Thandar has said that the United States must recognize India's right to protect its people and its territory and must ensure through thorough investigation about the Pahalgam terrorist attack.
The outrage that we felt in the United States, outrage India felt, and outrage we seen all across the world. And now that India has started to target the infrastructure of the terrorists and planned 9 such attacks. So India, has a right to defend itself. India has a right to retaliate for what appears to be barbaric acts. The United States must recognize India's right to protect its people, its territory. Secondly, the United States must encourage a thorough and complete investigation about the terroristic attack.
So, right to retaliate is the refrain, and India's opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has hailed the operation. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Proud of our armed forces, Jai Hind." While Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge said, and I quote again, "India has an unflinching national policy against all forms of terrorism emanating from Pakistan and PoK. We are extremely proud of our Indian armed forces who have struck terror camps in Pakistan and PoK. We applaud their resolute resolve and courage. Since the day of the Pahalgam terror attack, the Indian National Congress has categorically stood with the armed forces and the government to take any decision and decisive action against cross-border terror. National unity and solidarity is the need of the hour, and the Indian National Congress stands with our armed forces. Our leaders have shown the path in the past, and national interest is supreme for us. That's what Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress President, has said on X. And India's politician from the south, Asaduddin Owaisi, has also welcomed Operation Sindoor. In a tweet, he said, and I quote again, "I welcome the surgical strikes carried out by our defense forces on terror camps in Pakistan. The Pakistani deep state must be taught a tough lesson so that another Pahalgam never happens again. Pakistan's terror infrastructure must be completely destroyed. Jai Hind. Hashtag Operation Sindoor." Again, on Operation Sindoor, defense expert Praful Bakshi has termed it as a strike, these strikes as a tremendous job.
The Indian government has stood by its word, and Air Force has carried out the job in a very exceptional manner, as usual. Total efficiency has been shown, and of course, our political bodies, which gave the decision, tremendous job. What message we are giving is that we have listened. We are not attacking Pakistan military. We are not attacking Pakistan fighting capability. We are attacking the terrorists.
In the wake of India's actions, air travel across northern India is severely disrupted. Several airlines of India, including Indigo, Air India and SpiceJet, have been cancelled or diverted to and from various cities in the region. In view of the prevailing situation, Air India has cancelled all its flights to and from the following stations. That's Jammu, Srinagar, Leh, Jodhpur, Amritsar, Bhuj, Jamnagar, Chandigarh and Rajkot. This is till noon on the 7th of May, pending further updates from the authorities. Two international flights en route to Amritsar are also being diverted to Delhi. India's airline SpiceJet has also closed its aviation services in Dharamshala, Leh, Jammu, Srinagar and Amritsar until further notice. Now, due to changing airspace conditions in the region, Indigo flights to and from Srinagar, Jammu, Amritsar, Leh, Chandigarh and Dharamshala are all impacted. Delhi Airport has also issued a passenger advisory alerting travellers due to changing airspace conditions. According to the advisory, some flights have been impacted at Delhi Airport. For updated flight information, passengers are advised to contact their respective airlines or may visit the official website. Now, as we mentioned, all flights from Amritsar Airport remain cancelled. All flights have been cancelled until further orders. Schools have been closed for 72 hours in Punjab's border districts. They have been closed for that period, for instance in Pathankot and also in Gurdaspur. Now, soon after the news of Operation Sindoor broke, fake videos shared by several pro-Pakistani handles started being circulated. Now, refuting all the claims, the Ministry of Defence has clarified that it's being falsely claimed about strikes on Indian security establishments. The video shared is old and not from India. The video is from sectarian clashes that took place in the year 2024 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, and the government has thus urged all nationals to rely only on official Government of India sources for authentic information. Let me now bring in Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, Distinguished Fellow, VIF and Centre for Land Warfare Studies. Well, it's not come to that yet, General, but clearly we are in a very tenuous situation.
Thank you for inviting me. And yes, what we have done yesterday night, every Indian ought to be proud of. There has been total tri-service energy in which the tri-service distributed targets as per their capabilities, and they joined together, coordinated together and hit even using best of technology that includes loitering ammunition and drones and missiles of all kinds. So, it is something to be proud of. And naturally, as you have rightly pointed out, the targets so selected were the kind of headquarters of the terror outfits like the JEM and the LET, and their regional headquarters at Kotli, Bagh, and Muzaffarabad. So I think what we have carried out is something every Indian ought to be proud of. This is it's a great achievement that we have done, and naturally there has been retaliation already of some kind. The Pakistanis opened artillery fire. There have been casualties. The army has intimated 3 casualties. Some information says that Punch city was hit by artillery shelling. So there is possibility of the villages that we have in the proximity of the line of control would be targeted as the easiest target by the Pakistani artillery, and there could be retaliation for which we have to be prepared later on in the day or tonight. So having said that, I think there is a message to the world, a message to the Pakistani establishment that when we say we mean business, we do mean business.
Right. Now, Pakistan, of course, is claiming, making a lot of tall claims, and of course, there is no proof, and perhaps there will never be. But does it indicate that Pakistan is right now really smarting because it's got a slap in the face, and it will look to hit back sooner or later?
You see, if we follow Pakistan's culture, the military actually controls the nation, and military has to assure the people that they are on top of the issues here. If they do not respond back, the military, as it is under a cloud for various reasons, and they would be held to pay for the armed forces of Pakistan. So the Pakistan army will have
do you
to
also see a
respond back.
scenario where there might be unrest in Pakistan because of what has happened?
I don't think so. You see, there has been, it's an 8-decade-old problem. It is not a problem of Pahalgam. The public has been so indoctrinated over a period of time that anti-Indianism and, of course, J&K issue become the identity. Ye unki pehchan hai. This is what the nation stands for. And, anytime they are in trouble, easiest way is to hit India that galvanizes the nation together. We have been hearing that there have been problems inside Pakistan army. There have been protests. He has sacked 3 corps commanders in last 2 years. That is, President Munir has sacked 3 corps commanders. Large number of other people have also been sacked who are in favor of Imran Khan and PTI. But that does not mean that Pakistan army is not professional. At a level, it's a very professionally well-trained, well-equipped armed forces, and they have to respond back to assuage the nation. So rightly so, we should be prepared for response tonight. We have preparations on the Indian side, but there's always a possibility of some sneak missile coming across or some sneak attack coming across to target some.
I was speaking with Alok Bansalji just a while back, and we were wondering whether Pakistan can afford to retaliate because it has a lot at stake. There's that IMF board meeting that's supposed to happen to take a decision on its further tranche, and then there are a lot of foreign assets at stake in different territories of Pakistan as well, and those foreign assets have faced some sort of fire, not from India earlier, but who knows?
So there's an opinion that Pakistan may not respond back. And we have said this is non-escalatory nature. We have not mobilized armed forces. So it is possible that Pakistan may not. But my personal opinion is that we have to be prepared for a response today. It's the issue that binds the nation. If they do not respond back, they will be within the nation itself. They will have major problems within east and west of Indus. And it is important for the Pakistan army to show that they have the capability to do so. It is, in that light, I think it will be essential for Pakistan army to retaliate in whichever measure. It may not be comparable retaliation at all. It may be minor, but there would be retaliation, and the retaliation will come sooner than later.
But is there a possibility, General? Is there a possibility that this time the response might be different, because this time India has reacted differently to what has happened in Pahalgam? India started putting on the screws, non-military screws, and they were really strong screws. It really made Pakistan wince, and even the world was watching with a sense of foreboding. And now this action has taken place.
again, I will stand by what I was saying, that while all these opinions stand, and it may be difficult,
Yes.
but for Pakistan, but it is for the nation itself to bind itself. What binds India, Pakistan as a nation? Yeah, what is there for nationhood? If they do not even respond to this one, then there is no nationhood left in Pakistan. So therefore, I would much expect that there will be retaliation. Yesterday night, the artillery responded back at Punch city. There are 3 casualties which army has already announced. To say that there will be no retaliation, well, of course, it will be a bonus to us. But a professional army will respond. They last year responded even to Iran, which is a fellow Muslim country. When Iran fired at them, they fired back at Iran, including using loiter ammunition. So, if they could fire back at Iran last year, and we presume that they may not fire back at us, I think that may be asking for too much, and we got to be prepared for a retaliation.
And you feel that India is prepared the way that we've been hearing in terms of the kind of preparations in the north and the Western Command with our armed forces, and of course there's the Air Force, and I'm sure our naval forces are also on high alert.
So we would have made sure that we move the kind of equipment and deploy in a manner that we will able to take down a substantial number of targeting that has been done, and use drones to push the artillery away, etc. So we would be done preparation. But having said that, look, Israelis have the best air defense. They have David Sling, they have Patriot, they have Iron Dome, and they had American Aegis in the ships here. Despite that, Iranian missiles were able to cross through those 4 layers and hit the airfields of Israel. Not 181 of them, but few of them. So, there's always a possibility existing that there will be some strike.
How robust are our, say, air defense systems?
So, they are robust. We have, if you recollect, we purchased S-400, which is one of the finest air defense systems. And
correct.
We have multi-layers of defenses that we have in our...
And without going into deployment details, those have been placed strategically?
I hope so. I'm also retired 8 years ago. I'm sure that the armed forces have done an assessment of what can be targeted and how can it be targeted from Pakistani side, and what all and what time frame. So this would have been done, and they will be prepared for it. So accordingly, but I would say that there is always possibility of decoys, possibility of pushing your air defense system into wrong direction, electronic warfare, etc. And they have collusion with the Chinese. So having said that, we have to be prepared, and that's why that mock drill has been announced, and drill to provide first aid and assistance and blackouts is because that there is a possibility of a retaliation, and the Indian nation must be, and people must be prepared for it.
You mentioned China. Do you find it interesting that China has been quiet about what's happened so far, except for talking about some anti-dumping action against certain pesticides from India? Their Commerce Ministry has talked about it.
So, I am assured, at least in my own opinion and my analysis, the Chinese will not get directly involved with us at all. The way they are deployed on the border, that's sufficient of a threat in being that exists on the northern borders. So leave the northern borders alone. The way Chinese are there is enough of it. But there is often some news item coming in somewhere which says that some air defense equipment has been given to the Pakistanis, or some kind of electronic warfare equipment, or some satellite imageries or satellite battlefield transparencies can be provided, and the Pakistanis use the Chinese Beidou system for communications, etc. So, while there is may not be direct thing, and, diplomatically, of course, politically, of course, Chinese may make some noise. But militarily, there is a support to the Pakistani, there is a collusion. We follow what kind of support that they are giving. And they would be giving dynamic support, for example, of information that they are able to take off from their satellites and such kind of thing. So, the collusion is always possible. It may not be evident. It may not be coming out in
right.
Open.
If Pakistan has China, India too is not short of friends, is it? In terms especially providing intelligence and other such informations that basically ensure that we can defend ourselves better.
So we've also got links, and we also got relationships, and we also have moved tremendously forward on getting battlefield transparency, and we are prepared. So whether we are prepared ourselves with our plethora of our own satellites there and drones that are flying across there, and electronic measures. So we be prepared, and we will be getting assistance from friends. So I mean, I'm sure we are as well off, if not better off.
Right.
In fact, I would say we are better off.
I'm glad you say that. Thank you so much for joining us, General Sharma, and talking about this situation, which of course is tenuous, but we are prepared for anything that Pakistan might try and deliver, and then of course let them know that it will never be what they intended to be. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about it. Now, relatives of victims of Pahalgam attack continue to applaud India's strike on Pakistan. The family of Shubham Dwivedi, who was killed in the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, has expressed gratitude to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They said the grief of losing Shubham is still fresh for them, and in such a situation, the retaliatory action of the Indian Army has brought relief to their hearts.
आज मैं रात 2 बजे से लगातार देख रहा हूं और मैं सलाम करता हूं अपने देश की सेना को और धन्यवाद अर्पित करता हूं अपने देश के माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को, जिन्होंने देश की 140 करोड़ जनता के मन की बात को समझा, दिल के दर्द को समझा, उसके दर्द को समझा, उसके गुस्सा को समझा, और जिस तरह हमारी सशक्त सेनाओं ने अदम्य साहस और शौर्य के साथ पाकिस्तान में पल रहे आतंकवाद का विनाश करने का काम किया है, उसके लिए मैं सलाम करता हूं, मैं धन्यवाद अर्पित करता हूं हमारे देश की सरकार को। हमारा परिवार जो इतने दिन से गम में था, आज हमारे परिवार ने रात के 2 बजे से कुछ हल्कापन महसूस किया है। जो दिल में हमारे दर्द था, उस दर्द में हमारे मलहम लगा है।
बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ, उनसे बहुत थैंक यू कहती हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरे पति की मौत का बदला लिया है। जिस तरीके से हमारे पूरे परिवार को उन पे विश्वास था, उन्होंने उसी तरीके से जवाब देके हमारे विश्वास को कायम रखा है। एंड आई एम रियली थैंकफुल। असली श्रद्धांजलि, और शायद वो आज जहाँ पे भी है, आज वो शायद थोड़ी शांति में होगा।
जब 22 अप्रैल को हमारा बच्चा शहीद हुआ वहाँ पे, तब भी हमने ऐसा कहा था, हमारे बच्चे के साथ जो बाकी के जितने भी लोग शहीद हुए, तभी मैंने कहा था कि नहीं, एक अब क्रांति आएगी हमारे देश में। और मुझे विश्वास था कि हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी हमारी भावनाओं का, हमारे जो हम लोग के दुख के दौर से गुजर रहे उन भावनाओं का आदर करेंगे, और आतंकवाद के समूल नाश के लिए वो निश्चित रूप से बहुत कठोर कदम उठाएंगे।
So Operation Sindoor acting as a salve to the wounded souls of the families of the victims of Pahalgam. Now, Asawari Jagdale, daughter of Santosh Jagdale, who was killed in Pahalgam terror attack, has said, and I quote, "It is a real tribute and justice to those who were killed by terrorists."
जो मेरे पिताजी का या फिर जितने भी उधर बच्चे थे, उन सबके पिताजी और जितनी भी औरतें थे, उनके पतियों का जो मतलब जान ली गई, तो उनका ये मरण जो था वो वेस्ट नहीं हुआ। और मुझे लगता है ये उनके लिए आज सच में दी गई एक श्रद्धांजलि है जो भारत ने एयर स्ट्राइक करके की है। मोदी जी को मैं बस तहे दिल से थैंक यू बोलना चाहती हूँ।
And Kaustuv Ganbote also lost his life in the Pahalgam terror attack in Pune. His son Kunal Ganbote said, "We all were waiting for such action to be taken, and we have this hope from the government of India."
हम सभी इस चीज़ की प्रतीक्षा कर रहे थे, क्योंकि भारत सरकार के से हम लोग बहुत उम्मीद लगा के बैठे थे, और ये उन्होंने सही किया है। और जो नाम इन्होंने सिंदूर दिया है, तो ये भी नाम हम एकदम करेक्ट दिया है, क्योंकि इसमें जो भी औरतें थे, मम्मी थी या आसावरी थी या आंटी थे, तो इनके रिस्पेक्ट में या बाकी के जो औरतें थी उनके रिस्पेक्ट में दिया है।
And slogans of Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Hail Mother India, were raised as people across India celebrated Operation Sindoor and hailed the armed forces.
Mata ki Jai, Vande Mataram, 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 Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki Jai, Bharat Mata
So as you can see, the mood in India is righteous. India is hailing its armed forces, saluting them for the kind of action they've taken against those who perpetrated an attack like Pahalgam, where 26 lives were lost, 25 Indian, 1 person from Nepal. And if anything else is coming our way from Pakistan, if Pakistan hits back, tries to do anything apart from the shelling that has already been taking place on the line of, across the line of control, then we're ready for it. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.